Welcome to our Daily Bread, where we dive deep into those tough questions of faith. And today we're tackling a big one that I think we've all wrestled with at some point. Where is God when we're suffering?
Yeah, it's a question as old as time, isn't it?
It really is. And it's one that deserves more than just a surface-level answer, so we're going to really dig into it today.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting how the Bible doesn't shy away from suffering at all. In fact, it acknowledges it as part of the human experience.
That's so true. It doesn't try to pretend it doesn't exist.
No, not at all. And it certainly doesn't present this idea that God is somehow causing our pain.
Right. It challenges that notion that if we're suffering, it's because God is punishing us or something.
Yeah, exactly. The biblical view is more nuanced than that. It suggests that suffering is often a consequence of living in a broken world, a world that's not yet fully redeemed.
So it's not that God is directly inflicting pain on us, but that suffering is a natural part of this imperfect world we live in.
That's right. And what's really fascinating is that the Bible suggests there can be a purpose in our pain, even a path to growth. Like, look at what the Apostle Paul wrote in Romans 5:3-4. He talks about suffering producing perseverance, character, and ultimately hope.
Now, I'll admit, that's a tough pill to swallow when you're in the middle of a really difficult situation. I know there have been times in my own life where I just felt lost and broken,
Yeah,
wondering where God was in all of it.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, probably. But looking back, I can see how those trials, as painful as they were, actually pushed me to lean on my faith more deeply. It was in those moments of weakness that I discovered a strength I didn't know I had.
That's so powerful, and it really resonates with my own experience. I remember a time when I faced some pretty serious health challenges. At first, all I could do was pray for healing. I wanted God to just step in and fix everything immediately.
It's natural to feel that way.
Oh, absolutely. But as the struggle continued, I found myself being drawn into a different kind of prayer, a deeper search for God's presence, for his heart.
So the suffering, in a way, pushed you into a more intimate relationship with God.
It really did. And through that journey, I developed a level of intimacy with God that I wouldn't trade for anything. In a way, the suffering, though unwanted, became a pathway to something more meaningful, a deeper connection with him.
That's such a beautiful testament to how God can be present even in our darkest moments. It reminds me of Psalm 34.18, which says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." It's such a powerful reminder that even when we feel alone, God is there. He's offering comfort and strength.
And I think it's important to remember that sometimes that presence isn't about feeling a warm, fuzzy feeling. Sometimes it's about holding on to the belief, the faith, that he's there even when our emotions and circumstances tell us otherwise.
So it's about trusting even when we don't feel it, when we don't understand.
Exactly. It's a reminder that faith often operates in the realm of what we can't see, requiring us to trust even when we don't understand.
And that's where I think the story of Jesus becomes so powerful.
Oh, absolutely. The fact that Jesus himself endured such immense suffering, the agony of the cross, tells us that we don't worship a God who is detached from our pain.
He understands our pain because he experienced it himself.
Exactly. Hebrews 4.15 emphasizes this beautifully. It says that Jesus sympathizes with our weaknesses.
Yeah.
He gets it. He lived it.
That changes everything, doesn't it? Knowing that Jesus experienced suffering firsthand reframes how we view our own pain. The cross becomes more than just a symbol. It becomes this tangible reminder that God understands the depths of human anguish, the feeling of abandonment, the weight of despair.
It's incredibly profound, and I think it invites us to approach our own suffering, not with bitterness or resentment, but with the knowledge that we are deeply understood by the one who endured the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
It really does. It shifts our whole perspective. It helps us see our pain through a different lens.
Yeah, it's a game changer for sure. But still, it's a challenge, right? Especially when we're in the thick of it, wrestling with those why me questions.
Oh, absolutely. It's never easy.
So if we accept that suffering is a part of life,
That even with God by our side, we're still going to experience pain. How do we navigate that? How do we hold on to hope in those difficult times? Are there any practical things we can do?
Yeah. One thing that's helped me a lot is remembering God's faithfulness in the past. It's so easy to get caught up in the present moment and forget all the times God has come through for us.
That's true.
So one thing I do is I actually keep a journal where I write down those moments when God showed up, when I saw his hand at work in my life. Those times when I experienced his grace and provision.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And then when I'm going through a tough time, I can go back and read those entries, and it's like this tangible reminder of his constant love and care. It helps me fight back against those doubts and that despair.
It's like creating this personal library of God's goodness, this testament to how he's been there even when we couldn't see it. That's amazing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
powerful. And, for those listening, even if journaling isn't your thing, I think the key is to find your own way to anchor yourself to God's goodness.
I agree. Like, find what works for you. It could be prayer, meditating on scripture, connecting with your faith community, whatever helps you remember and connect with his presence.
Right, exactly. Just find what works for you and hold on to it, especially when those doubts start to creep in, because they will.
Oh, they definitely will.
Yeah.
So it's like building those spiritual muscles,
Mhm.
training our minds to default to trust and hope, even when our emotions are telling us otherwise.
You got it. It's a lifelong journey, but it's so worth it. And you don't have to walk this path alone. Connecting with your faith community, getting support from others who believe can be incredibly powerful.
Oh, for sure. Community is vital.
It is. It's in those shared experiences, those moments of vulnerability and support, that I think we truly grasp the depth of God's love and the power of collective hope. It's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we're not alone.
So true. We were never meant to go through this alone.
Absolutely not. And when we embrace that truth, when we allow ourselves to be held by God's love and supported by our community, we can face even the toughest challenges with a new sense of courage and resilience. That's when we really experience the life-changing power of faith.
It's in those moments that we realize that our faith isn't just some abstract concept, but a real source of strength and hope.
It is. And it's a testament to the human spirit's ability to grow, even in the midst of pain.
So true.
It's a reminder that while suffering can wound us deeply, it can also refine us, shape us into people who are more compassionate, empathetic, and connected to something much bigger than ourselves.
And isn't that what faith is all about? It's about being connected to something bigger, something that gives our lives meaning and purpose even in the midst of suffering.
You hit the nail on the head. Faith is a journey of trust, a willingness to embrace both the joys and the sorrows, knowing that we are held by a love beyond our understanding.
And it's often in those times of profound suffering that our faith is tested and refined.
It's like those trials become a crucible, forging within us a deeper, more resilient faith.
And while we may not always come out unscathed, we come out changed. We come out stronger.
Exactly. And that transformation, that growth in character and depth of faith, is something that transcends the temporary nature of suffering. It points to a greater reality, an eternal perspective that reminds us that our present struggles, however painful, are not the end of the story.
It's like that verse in 2 Corinthians 4:17, which says, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all."
Such a powerful verse. That eternal perspective, that awareness of a glory far greater than our current pain, is what carries us through those dark nights of the soul. It's the anchor that keeps us from being swept away by despair. It's the light that guides us towards hope.
Yeah. So to everyone listening, if you're going through something difficult right now, please know that you're not alone. God sees you, He hears you, and He is with you, even if you don't feel it.
And remember those words from 2 Corinthians. Our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all.
Hold fast to that promise. It's amazing to think about how suffering can actually refine our faith.
It really is. It's kind of like a blacksmith hammering away at a piece of metal.
Oh yeah, shaping it into something strong and beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And, it reminds us that the process can be intense and even painful, but ultimately the end result is worth it.
Right, like when we go through trials, our faith is tested and strengthened.
For sure. And we come out on the other side with a much deeper understanding of God's love and a greater capacity for empathy and compassion.
Yeah, it's almost as if those difficult times kind of reveal the true strength and beauty of our faith.
I agree. It's like they show us what we're really made of.
And it's not just about our own personal growth either.
Right.
When we allow our suffering to refine us, it also equips us to better understand and support others who are going through similar challenges.
Oh, absolutely. We become more compassionate, we're more understanding, more able to walk alongside those who are hurting.
It's beautiful. It's like our own experiences with suffering can actually make us better equipped to love and serve others.
I love that. It's like a ripple effect, where our pain can ultimately lead to healing for ourselves and those around us.
Exactly.
And it reminds me of a verse from James 1:2-4. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything.
Powerful words.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that there's a purpose in our struggles, and it's a purpose that extends beyond ourselves.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into our daily bread, what final thoughts would you leave our listeners with? What's the one thing you hope they'll take away from our conversation today?
Well, I hope they'll remember that suffering, while a universal experience, it's not the end of the story.
Yeah, there's still hope.
Always. There's hope to be found even in the midst of pain.
It's about clinging to those promises.
Exactly. Clinging to God's promises, drawing strength from our faith community, and allowing our experiences to refine us. That's how we can emerge from trials stronger, more compassionate, and with a deeper understanding of God's love.
Those are words we all need to hear, especially during difficult times. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into suffering and faith. We hope this conversation has offered some encouragement, comfort, and a renewed sense of hope. And to our listeners, remember, you are not alone. Keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Thank you for having me.